The problem with the SDA 2300-year prophecy, the proper way to calculate Daniel chapter 9 verse 25. A quick summary. We will begin our calculations with Nehemiah. Nehemiah rebuilt Jerusalem. Therefore, he is the start of the Daniel chapter 9 verse 25 prophecy. We will be using the 360-day year as mentioned in the book of Daniel and Revelations. This is Sir Robert Anderson's calculations as found in the book The Coming Prince. I have verified the math though and am in agreement with his conclusions. So then, what are the odds that a more literal interpretation of prophecy will actually work? Let's find out. Where to begin? Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 1. And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king. Nehemiah tells us he made his request to rebuild Jerusalem in the month of Nisan in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes reigned from 465 to 424 BC. This would mean Artaxerxes' 20th year would be 445 BC. So that is where we will begin our calculations. Our goal will be to calculate exactly 173,880 days from the 1st of Nisan in 445 BC, or March 14th. That is 69 times 7, which is 483 years. We multiply that by 360 to get 173,880. Step 1. From 445 BC to 32 AD, that is a total of 476 years. So we multiply 476 times 365 to get 173,740 days. Step 2. We add for leap years 116 days. A quick note, the Julian calendar is about 11 minutes or about the 129th part of a day longer than the mean solar year. The Julian calendar therefore contains 3 leap years too many and 4 centuries. In other words, if we divide 476 by 4, because there's a leap year every 4 years, we get 119 days. But we take away 3 days due to the slight error in the Julian calendar. Step 3. So we add 24 days in order to get our grand total, and that leaves us at April 6th, or the 10th of Nisan, also known as Palm Sunday. So that means that from the 1st of Nisan in 445 BC to the 10th of Nisan in 32 AD, that is exactly 173,880 days, and that leaves us at Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Some will dismiss 32 AD as being the year our Lord Jesus Christ was crucified because the Paschal moon wasn't full on a Friday. But this doesn't take into account the many details that have been changed and manipulated in calculating the crucifixion. True, if the system by which we calculate the year and Passover was the same throughout history, then 32 AD could be dismissed. But history testifies to the changing of the calendar in both Jewish and secular worlds. It should be no surprise that calendars have been changed. The Bible even predicts it, but 173,880 days can be calculated by anybody throughout history, no matter what changes are made to the calendars. Most importantly, the gospel remains unchanged. We simply have a better method of calculating prophecy. This better method does, however, expose the SDA church, does it not? But let's look at some supporting Bible verses to establish 32 AD. Luke chapter 3 tells us Jesus' ministry begins in the 15th year of Tiberius Caesar. According to the SDA church, this is in 27 AD. So that means Tiberius Caesar's reign would have begun in 12 AD. But an asterisk should be added because Tiberius Caesar is actually co-regent with Augustus Caesar in 12 AD. In August of 14th AD, Augustus Caesar died, and this is the beginning of Tiberius Caesar's reign. and that would make Tiberius Caesar's 15th year between August 28 AD to August 29 AD. So then the first Passover of Jesus' ministry would have been in 29 AD, and his last one would have been in 32 AD. I know this doesn't fit the SDA model, but this is the interpretation when we let the evidence speak for itself. The key to the 15th year of Tiberius ultimately comes down to the definition of the word reign. Can a co-regent truly reign? John chapter 2 verse 20 also gives us a hint to the beginning of Jesus' ministry. The verse says, "Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days?" So we must simply subtract 46 from the beginning of Jesus' ministry to find the beginning of the construction of the temple. If we are correct, then history will support it. According to the Jewish historian Josephus, Herod decided to pull down and rebuild the Jewish temple in the 18th year of his reign. And here's a quote from his Antiquities book. "And now Herod in the 18th year of his reign undertook a very great work, that is, to build himself the temple of God in Jerusalem." So if we subtract 46 years from 27 AD, we actually get 20 BC, which is Herod's 18th year. So this would seemingly support the SDA method of calculation. But also, according to Josephus, construction would not begin until all materials would be collected due to distrust and dislike of Herod, Herod being a half-Edomite, half-Jew appointed by the Romans. So here's another quote from the Antiquities book. "Herod the Great, however, encouraged the people and told them he would not pull down their temple till all things were gotten ready for building it up entirely again. And as he promised them this beforehand, so he did not break his word with them, but got ready 1,000 wagons that were to bring the stones for the building." So if Jesus' ministry began in 29 AD, and if we subtract 46, we actually get 18 BC, 2 years after Herod's 18th reign. It is entirely reasonable to believe Herod did not begin construction until 18 BC, because he himself promised he would not begin construction until all materials were gathered. To summarize, we have started the Daniel chapter 9 verse 25 prophecy in the year 445 BC, the year Nehemiah rebuilt the city of Jerusalem. This is in fact the only command given to rebuild Jerusalem. The other decrees were to rebuild or restore the temple. We use the prophetic 360-day year. The science of the day may change, but a prophetic year will remain the same no matter the age. These changes are actually substantial, biblically supported, and yet we still arrived at the year 32 AD, a more than possible year for the crucifixion. On the next video, we will look at the real little horn of Daniel 8. And finally, the real fulfillment of the 2300 evening and mornings. If you did not know there was more than one little horn, or the difference among the little horns, then the next video is for you.